Muted myself right out of the gate. Hello and welcome to Bash on the Buttons. My name is TJ Stevens. Of course, we are here for week 2 of Super WrestleMania for the SNES. Boom, there it is. And of course, last week we talked about production notes on this game, how the SNES version differed from the Sega Genesis version. Business numbers it did. And this week we're going to talk what was WWF actually doing creatively here when this game came out in March of 1992. So we are right near WrestleMania 8, which of course was right here in Indiana at the RCA Dome. God's country, really. The RCA Dome doesn't even exist anymore. I believe the old RCA Dome land is now the parking lot for Lucas Oil Stadium. So how the times change. So I think it's time. It's Saturday. Normally we go on Friday night. It's Saturday. Old Tej here worked afternoons this week, and I did not want to start doing a live stream at 1 a.m. Eastern time. And I'm sure you guys didn't want to watch that either. So got some comments coming in already. Matthew Elvis Presley, my longtime dear personal friend. I've known him all of a month because of the show, but he's always here and he's chatty. And I say it's time to make a drink and then time to play some video games in honor of this weekend. Can you believe it is already February? It's like, you know, Christmas was months away and now all of a sudden it's February. I just saw my cat jump the baby gate across the way out of the corner of my eye and it scared the shit out of me. I thought I had a fluffy white intruder. And yeah, I mean, cheers, by the way. Happy weekend. Happy Saturday. Ooh, that vodka sound right on the top. Goo. Antonio Santos is here. Left-handed cigarette. I have not heard that term probably since I watched a PSA in high school that was from the 70s. Left-handed cigarette. That's tremendous. Efren is here. The host of the game event. For my money, the greatest, wrestling game show that's out there. I would argue Efren should be hosting The Price is Right. That's me. I'm just going to throw it out in the ether. We'll see what happens. And I love the fact that Efren's here because I've got my Saved by the Pod t-shirt, or long sleeve t-shirt, I guess, which of course was Efren, our longtime close personal friend, Paulie B, and then Timmy C. And you can see that goofball still on the Mark Out Moments YouTube page and Drunken Pop, which we will be back to a normal show this week. But for now, this is Bash on the Buttons. That's what we're doing. Let's hop in to Super WrestleMania 1992. And again, we're going to talk today, amongst other things, but the theme of this show is going to be what was WWF doing creatively when this game came out in March of 92. Let's just go ahead. The comments are busy today, so let's just go ahead and put them up. Put them up. And I have a soft spot in my heart for WrestleMania 8 because it was in Indiana. But I went over the card before we came on. Listen, we're just going to take it easy. This is going to be fun. I'm not trying to impress anybody, okay? Put it away for tonight. But WrestleMania 8, top to bottom, not ideal. It's there's definitely a change coming. There's change in the air in the WWF. The Hulk Hogan era, although not over, is coming to a screeching halt. It is very obvious. especially because he is wrestling Sid Vicious here at WrestleMania 8, who was a stone cold babyface at Royal Rumble 92. But because Hulk Hogan acted like a heel again, and the crowd turned on him, instead of turning Hogan, they turned Sid, because why not? So let's go ahead. Let's do some Macho Man Randy Savage. Who we taking on? I have noticed if you pick a babyface, you will wrestle a heel. That's interesting to me. But yes, 1992. Not a lot going on in the WWF. And we'll get a match under our belt. Let's have another drink of our cocktail. I know, hey, listen, I know there's someone in the chat right now who New Year's resolution is they're not drinking for a while, so they can enjoy a nice spritzer. But the rest of us, cheers. My New Year's, wow, that's still on the top. It just hit me right in the back of the throat. My New Year's resolution was to quit smoking, and Monday will be a month. No cigarettes. Boom. Roasted. Matthew Elvis Presley says, Hogan is the reason I'm a wrestling fan. I would say that's a lot of people our age. Unfortunately, and I'm not saying this to make some grandiose statement or to differentiate myself from everyone else, I do not fall in that category. The guy I'm wrestling as, Macho Man Randy Savage, he's the reason why I'm a wrestling fan. And again, I started watching in '89. He was a heel, but I was still drawn to him. I was a weird kid. I liked the heels. I liked Macho Man, or Macho King, as he would have been. Here, he turned face here by the time the game came out. But when I started watching, he was, I mean, it's like peak Macho King. Mr. Perfect, one of my favorites forever. $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase, loved him. I think my favorite thing about when I was a kid about Ted DiBiase, I didn't really understand that he was just uber rich. I think what I enjoyed about him was he looked like everyone's next door neighbor, you know, with a shiny jacket. And then Roddy Piper, who of course here in '89, well, actually we didn't see a lot of him in '89, '90 and '91. He's babyface. He's pretty much babyface throughout the rest of his career. He might have been a heel for a hiccup in like '99 in WCW. No one remembers it if he was. And then, you know, I like the Natural Disasters, as weird as that is. I'm the one. Not even a one count from Old Typhoon. So yeah, and listen, I'm not shitting on Hogan. I understand Hogan is the reason why this game exists. Really, most video games exist, wrestling games, and all that stuff. He is the reason for the season. He's the reason for the boom in the 80s. He's the reason why WWF became, you know, an uber prosperous company in the 80s. Get all those things. But he's just, I don't know. You know, it must have just, maybe it's just me, because even when he's with the NWO and he actually turned heel, and he should have, I liked him at first, only because it was different. And then, like the way they ran the storyline with Hogan, I stopped liking that too. How about a year? Well, which is it? Is it a year ago or a year and a half? Let's figure. Are you drunk right now? You forgot time. My goodness. Either way, congratulations, Antonio. It's a long time. So let's do should we do a tag team or Survivor Series? Let's do a Survivor Series. Those are fun. Before we actually start this match, I will begin to go over the card for WrestleMania 92. It is not great. Undertaker, Hawk, Animal. And I love, by the way, I love the fact that his name is Sid Justice. His last name is Justice. They turned him heel and not Hogan. So before we pick our Macho Man, it's going to be Macho Man, but I want to go over this card first, WrestleMania, at least the first part of it, to let you know what was not going on at WrestleMania 8. So the opening match, well, the dark match was the Bushwhackers and the Bailey Brothers. One may argue that probably should have been on the main card. The opening match, Shawn Michaels and Tito. Now, Shawn Michaels here is with Sherry. This is where Undertaker beats Jake Roberts, and we would not see Jake Roberts again until 96. Bret Hart defeated Roddy Piper for the Intercontinental Championship. Probably Piper's best match. And then here's the halfway point, 6.5 minute, 8-man tag match with Boss Man, Virgil, a now babyface Sergeant Slaughter, I Want My Country Back, and Jim Duggan as they beat the Mountie, the Nasty Boys, and Repo Man, who I forgot the Repo Man was managed by Jimmy Hart. I had no idea that happened ever. Says WrestleMania 8 was one of the worst WrestleManias. Again, I have a soft spot. It's in my home state. It's hard to argue. Again, we just read the first half of the card. And that's what we got. The second half, I mean, it's not, and I question like how they decided where to put what match, because literally the next match after that 8-man tag match is Savage and Flair for the title. What? You know. I wonder what the actual starting date of the new generation was, because I bet you it wasn't terribly long after this show, WrestleMania 8. Because you had Savage, if he wasn't 40, he was close. Flair was 40. He might have been 41 here at this WrestleMania. Matthew Elvis Presley is 46. So out of WrestleManias 1 through 9, 8 was my least favorite as a fan or a child. Again, I know 7 gets a lot of hate because of Hogan, Slaughter, and specifically the Iranian or Iraqi sympathizer thing. I get it. Again, we talked about that a couple weeks ago on the show. I actually didn't mind it as a kid, and now as a veteran, I don't mind it. Here's the thing, and it's because of Slaughter, Sheik, and Adnan. Like, if you're gonna do it, and they did it. Like, it was very believable. And I think one thing can be said about a character like that, like an Iraqi sympathizer, Sergeant Slaughter, and then Adnan now Casey, and General Mustafa was Iron Sheik. That, you're stereotyping people, and that is a very dangerous or a thin line to walk. But if also done right, it could be unifying, I think, to the fans. But unfortunately, I believe the way that was executed and the way WrestleMania 7 was kind of lackluster. I don't think it did either. Because essentially, Slaughter does the Hogan match, and then that's it. Like, I think they wrestle one more time at SummerSlam, which I think it was Hogan and Warrior against Adnan Al-Kaisi, Colonel Mustafa, and Slaughter. That's it. Slaughter's a babyface, I think, by Survivor Series. So I don't think they accomplish either. But and then 9, see, 9's tough. 9's tough because it gets a lot of flack because of Undertaker, John Gonzalez, rightfully so. And then the end, Hogan winning the title after Yoko was champion for about 49 seconds. And I get all of those things. But at the same token, if you take those two moments out of WrestleMania 9, WrestleMania 9 is actually pretty good. As weird as that sounds. Steiners and Head Shrinkers is an underrated tag team match. They beat the shit out of each other. What else was on that show? You have, what are we doing? Just want to tag my partner. Yeah, you do that. You take that. What, will you please just tag him? Oh my Lord. There we go. Yeah. Now I will tell you the Money Inc. and the Mega Maniacs was not ideal. That was not good. Take that right in the mush. Doink and Crush with the double doink. Underrated finish. One of my favorite finishes ever, WrestleMania. And again, I thought as a kid, I thought doink was the dumbest shit ever. But now as an adult, I actually like the idea of a heel clown. But you could never, like, Doink could never, in my opinion, Doink can never be babyface. He's got to be a heel. Other than that, it's literally just a clown. As an adult, I see that 7 was lacking, but as a child, I was excited for Hogan and Slaughter. Slaughter had me passed. I'm gonna say he's been pissed. He beat Warrior and couldn't wait for Hogan to take the traitor. I love 9. The venue for WrestleMania 9, it's a top 5. Still to this day. It's beautiful looking. Let's see. We had Luna returned at 9. Was it you had Shawn and Tatanka, Razor Ramon and Backlund, which was awful. Whoopee cushion finishers, phenomenal. What was, did Bam Bam wrestle? Because he's on the WrestleMania 9 documentary, but I don't remember seeing him on the show. I don't remember. What else was on that show? Was there anything else on that show? Oh, Luger Perfect, which then led to the Perfect Shawn feud after the match. I should say the Narcissist. And by the way, it still bothers me a great deal to this day that when he first debuted, Bobby Heenan was calling him Narcissus, which is stupid. And I know it wasn't Bobby Heenan saying the Narcissist wrong. That was going to be his name, Narcissist. And they were like, that sounds stupid. We should just call him the Narcissist. Let's see what else. Was there anything else in the, I feel like Virgil. Was Virgil on this show on WrestleMania 9? I feel like it was. Okay. So again, if you're new to the show, we got some possible new viewers out there. We this is week 2 of Super WrestleMania. What are we? Okay, of Super WrestleMania for Super Nintendo. So every 3 weeks we pick a new game based off a poll, and the poll will determine the order that games are played in. And of course, this was on the poll from, now it would have been a month ago, I guess. Now more than that. Almost. Have we been doing this show for 3 months? Ew. But again, the poll will determine the order of the game. So we have this one. This is week 2. So we got one more week next week. Once we are done with week 3, we are moving on to Pro Wrestling for NES. I know a lot of people are excited for that one. I don't know if I am. For the same reasons why I'm not excited to play this game this week or next week, because this is pretty much all there is to do. There's nothing to strive for. There's no title belts, nothing. We're just fighting for funsies. So in week 2 of any Pro Wrestling for NES, we'll be putting up the new poll with 4 games on it, and those 4 games will determine the order of which the 4 games will be played. And those 4 games will be as follows: WWF In Your House for Sega Saturn. I've never played a Sega Saturn, therefore I've never played this game. If I did, it was for something else. So I'm excited for that. Royal Rumble for Dreamcast will be on the poll. Another game on the poll. But sure, just go. Yeah. Tag Team Wrestling for NES. I don't know anything about that game. Actually, our friend Efren told me about when I bought it randomly at a game store, at the Vintage Game Store, Game Changers in Michigan City, Indiana. Shout out. They had it, and I bought it randomly. No, I knew nothing about it. My brother, there's nothing to know about it, but Efren has informed me that game is like legendarily terrible. So that should be fun. And then rounding out that block of 4 will be WCW NWO Revenge for N64. Now I'm guessing WCW NWO Revenge probably going to win that poll, but keep this in mind. If you vote it number 1, we'll be playing it first out of the 4. So that will be coming up in, let's see, 3 weeks from this week, week 2 of Pro Wrestling for NES. WCW NW Revenge. I am so excited to play that game. So those 4, the now famous Nintendo 64 wrestling games, I have probably been looking forward to those 4 games more than anything else. Because, as you know, I'm guessing most people watching this are, if not my age, very close to it. I'm be 41 in March. So, there's no reason to just, hang out at the house and play Revenge or World Tour or No Mercy or WrestleMania 2000 for no apparent reason. So, I am excited I haven't played Revenge in probably 20 years, if not longer. Probably almost, 25, 26, because again, you gamers will know, Revenge came out in 99. Well, WrestleMania 2000 came out in 2000. Therefore, I wasn't playing Revenge anymore. I was playing WrestleMania 2000. Yeah. Vodka's starting to go down into the Sprite, but it's taking its time. Dude, right? Just grabs me by the uvula every time I drink it. And one of the reasons why I'm so excited, there's a lot of reasons why I'm excited to play Revenge, is again, we'll have something to play towards. There's kind of a storyline. It's not ideal, but very well developed, but there is one. And I'm excited to see not only the depth of I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, obviously, we're not playing it. There has to be 70 wrestlers on that game. Has to be. And there's a bunch they made up, which is like Aki Man and the Shaman, and which now I'm curious if they did a WCW versus the world scenario and just made up a bunch of dudes that are actually other people from around the world. And that game's that one's gonna take me back into a very nice spot. What is this? Can we play Ring King so we can watch the in-between round videos? What does that mean? What is Ring King? Why do you know so many wrestling video games no one's ever heard of? Dropping the elbow, brother. Oh yeah, I forgot to control animal when he comes in the ring. You get out. He kicked out. You know what? I will give Acclaim this, or Sculpture Software, whoever you want to give the credit to. For being in Super Nintendo, you can actually tell who is who. Animal looks like Animal. Typhoon looks like Typhoon. So they nailed it there. It's in 1992. We played, WWF, what was that? Warzone, which came out in 1998. And we're like, that looks like someone ran over Steve Austin with a train. Typhoon, get out. So now when this match is over, I have to look up Ring King. Is that like Jock Jams? What is that? I don't know why I just thought of JBL's Kaboom of the Week. If you didn't watch Raw in like 1996, that doesn't make any sense. But they used to do an ad break for like a replay earlier in the show. And this is back when we used to have boom boxes. And it was called JBL's Kaboom of the Week. Which, by the way, my boombox from high school is still alive. Actually, I don't know if boombox is the right word. It's a 3-disc CD changer. One of those big ones that the lights were always on, like green. It's still alive in my dad's garage to this day. And I went by and looked just for fun a couple weeks ago. In the tape deck, still to this day, Offspring Smash. That's your boy right here. All right, we got out Earthquake. Old Mach is gonna take out Earthquake and Typhoon by himself, and then we're gonna tag in. I don't know if I have anyone left too fresh. I don't think I do. But Macho Man, he's cleaning the house right now. 3, Earthquake, get out. So I believe they just have Jake and Ted. Yep. And we have a full team, y'all. The TJ, you put it on rookie. Yeah, I know. It's on purpose. Undertaker is not in great shape, so I don't know if I want him sitting there. Here we go. We got Hawk and Animal. We'll do that. Old Legion to do out here in front. Punch. That I'm really excited for Revenge too, because I actually know the button combinations are to do moves, because there's not a ton. Not to say there is here, but I'm still like, you see me doing a lot of stuff and causing a lot of damage. I don't have a strategy. I'm just mashing shit. As the title would ensue or insinuate, I'm bashing on the buttons. Okay. Who's the referee? Who would that be? Looks like so they made Sean Mooney a referee. Old Ted's going to be out. 1, 2, and 3. So we also talked about this last week, that when you're in the Survivor Series match, probably tag teams too, and the wrestler in the ring has their health entirely depleted, his partner does not come in to save him anymore, which is nice. One move on Jake, it's over. Oh, it's over. Hip toss. The old hip toss, that's going to do it. 1, 2, and 3. I think we should look up what Ring King is, because apparently everyone's not going to tell it. So let's see. Ring King game. What is this? It's like, it's Mike Tyson's Punch Out before Mike Tyson's Punch Out. I don't understand. Look at this, y'all. Let me sure I do this right. I want to take out the Super WrestleMania one. Oh, I have to. Damn. I have the picture or pictures from that game. So it's Mike Tyson's Punch Out before Mike Tyson's Punch Out. Came out in 87. Have you played any of the 2K line? Yes. I just downloaded 26. Was that the last one that came out? 25? A few weeks ago. It's okay. Again, I'm an old head, so I enjoy the showcases more than I do anything else. Especially, again, I have this weird fascination with Yokozuna. And you get to go in the bloodline and play as Yokozuna. So I enjoyed that. But yeah, I have most of them, actually, the 2Ks. And I just got an Xbox 360 this week. So now I just need the original Xbox, and I will have all of the Xboxes. What do now? Oh, here's the rest. Talk about the showcase and the legends. I would agree. My GM is still way too hard. I don't know what they're trying to do with that. The second half of your WrestleMania 8 card for what was WWF doing creatively in 92. Again, Randy Savage and Ric Flair for the world title. 18 minutes. That's the longest match of the night by far. Tatanka and Rick Martel. The Natural Disasters defeated Money Inc. by countout, so they did not win the tag team titles. Owen Hart beats Skinner in 1:36. And then your main event, in 12 and a half minutes, Hulk Hogan beats Sid Justice with like the Warrior and Papa Shango and Bruno Sammartino and Stan Stasiak and all those guys ran in. Matthew Evans Presley plays on Switch. That's great. This, you know what? I was actually, when the Switch came out, I don't know what my hope. I keep seeing the vertical, and I'm just, the only thing they see in the vertical layout is my wall. I gotta move everything. So, hey, the only thing I think about, like the Switch, because the Wii was so cool when it first came out, and it immediately became a joke within a few months because of the library it had. I did not have high expectations for the Switch, and it exceeded my expectations by a lot. The Switch is underrated. I like it. Efren says he quivers like I do when a guy lies on top of me for a count of 3. Bragger. WWE is actually pretty good on it. I have not played WWE on a Switch. The next Switch, the new Switch 2 is badass. We don't have a Switch 2 yet either. It's coming. I mean, it's a gamer's house. I have every console but like 6. So I mean, I still do need a 3DO. I've never had a 3DO. I don't know where I would find one, but I want one. I don't have an Atari here. No ColecoVision. Could you imagine there's a wrestling game for ColecoVision and me having to play it for 3 weeks? It'd be awful. What else do I not have? Nintendo, I pretty much have nailed down. I have an NES, an SNES. I have a 64. I have a GameCube. I have a Wii, but you'll never see it. Not for this. There's no way. We have a Switch. We don't have a Switch 2. So I believe everything else for Nintendo I have. And again, here's the wild thing. Growing up, like my mom was a factory worker, which ironically enough, I ended up working at that factory when I was 31. And like, oh, your mom got your job. She had been gone for 15 years when I got that job. And no, she like me did not get along with the management team. 2 different management teams, both sucked. But she was a factory worker. My dad was an auto mechanic. So like we did all right, but we were never like, just we didn't have a lot of spending cash, as they say, a lot of folded money in my house in the little town of Fish Lake where I grew up. So, and especially when my parents got divorced in 94. But so I skipped Super Nintendo. I went from original Nintendo to 64. I skipped Super Nintendo. So I got my first Super Nintendo like 6 years ago, 5 maybe. And yeah, for like a week, that's all I did was I just sat here, not here, it was in the family room, and played Super Nintendo. Super Mario World, solid. Mario Kart, schooled my daughter. Well, TJ, she's only 6. That's not what's important, okay? You learn lessons young. That way, when you actually accomplish something, it means that much more. So yeah, I was the Super Nintendo. I was probably the most excited to have. I was probably more excited to get a Super Nintendo, in all honesty, than I was to get my Xbox Series X, because it doesn't. The Xbox Series X, other than being a little bit cleaner, aesthetically and graphics wise, it looks the same. It does the same shit. But I get a Super Nintendo, and now I can play all these games from my childhood I never got a chance to when I was actually a kid. So yeah, I loved getting a Super Nintendo. Actually, my Sega Genesis is the one console that I have that is my Sega Genesis from when I was a kid. For some reason, that's the one I never got rid of. Well, my PlayStation 1. There's two. My Sega Genesis and my PlayStation 1. For whatever reason, those are the two I just never got rid of. So when I was on here playing Warzone on PS1, that was my PS1 from when I was a child. And if you're just watching for the first time, yes, that's right. We don't play emulators on this show. We play the real deal. Okay? We don't cheat on this show. Also, you can see right here the actual Super Nintendo. And let me scoot it over so you can see that the power button's on. I don't know what more proof you need that this is the real deal. Okay? Now, listen, I understand none of you asked for it. I feel self-conscious about it. So I wonder, was it the Xbox 360 the WWE 2K series debuted on? I don't remember. I think it was. Because, like, I gotta stop saying like. It annoys the shit out of me. I don't know why I'm doing it. So after N64, who made WrestleMania X8 in 19? I don't know. And we just played it long ago. Can I see it? Oh no, I put it back in the cabinet. But you had those, and I don't know how many of that company of WWE games they made. I have no idea. And then there was that weird time frame where they had like Legends of Wrestling and Legends of WrestleMania, and that weird time in Xbox where you could download your own theme music. Like, and I don't know who made those. I have them, but I don't remember who makes them. I do know that my theme song in that WWE game where you could pick your own music was Disturbed. I remember that like it was yesterday. I think it was Stricken. Get Out. But I think it was WWE 2K14. Was that the first one? Was the Punk cover? Was that the first one that they did with 2K? And who were they doing with before? I see. I don't remember the timeline. Or was it? Or did they do one in 13 and it was Cena? See, these are all. Oh, I just lost. I was paying attention. So let's see. What was the first WWE 2K game? What hot first WWE 2K game? It was 14. It was released in October of 13. The Rock was on the cover. Is that right? Was there a special cover that? Holy shit! A lot of platforms. Was there a cover that? Oh, SmackDown vs. Raw. Duh. I'm stupid. So THQ from 2020, 2012. Oh, WWE 13. That was the Punk one. WWE 2K14 was the first one. It was The Rock. What a waste. So when was 14 released? October 29th, 2013. So 6 months after that game was released, Punk walked out. Is that not crazy? Oh, here you go. Sorry, I switched tabs. Couldn't see it, Matthew. Wasn't ignoring you. Old Javier says hi. Hello there, sir. Greetings from Chile. Well, greetings from chilly Indiana. It's still colder than shit up here. Let's see, how cold is it? It is 17 degrees, 16 degrees Fahrenheit here in sweet LaPorte, Indiana. Welcome to the show, Javier. Welcome. Please come in and join us. This is Bash on the Buttons, where we go back and play wrestling video games from the past and just talk about memories from the time this game came out in 1992, March of 92. So just before WrestleMania 8. And we talk about, we talk about creatively what WWE was doing here in 92. Last week was the production comments, Acclaim and Sculptured Software, as long as business and all those things. And then we'll come back next week and we'll just kind of hang out and play the game next Friday. Also, Javier, we normally do it on Friday night, but I was on afternoon. So this week it's on Saturday night. I worked afternoons at the old steel mill. So next Friday, we'll be back on schedule. I'll be on midnights. So I'm literally going to do the show and leave to go to work. But it will be on normal time. I might scoot it up a little bit, maybe like 8 or 8:30 Eastern time. Stone Mountain, Georgia. One of the best hometowns for a wrestler ever. It just sounds awesome. Stone Mountain, Georgia. So yes. Speaking of Jake the Snake, finally settled. I got some Sprite in that one. So speaking of Jake, here in 92, again, he's going to wrestle Undertaker at WrestleMania 8, and Jake's gone. We're not going to see him again until Survivor Series 96 in the WWE. He is going to go to WCW for a little cup of coffee. He is going to have a spin the wheel, make the deal with Sting and Halloween Havoc, and they're going to have a coal miner's glove match. And then I believe he's done after that. So yeah, I mean, Jake, let's just say for the most part, with the exception of 92 and early 97 or 92, 96 and early 97, Jake's done. Because I don't remember seeing him that much after King of the Ring 96. And, again, it was the situation where his demons got the better of him. Much like 92, like it wasn't, in 96. That's a shame. Like, when you consider the stature of the character of Jake the Snake Roberts and how like good the character was, how good Jake's psychology was, how good his promos were. And he didn't, outside of DDP, he never really got to share it because, WWE tried to put him on the creative team and he just could not be held, like he just couldn't be trusted. This should be a t-shirt. Welcome to Bash on the Buttons, where we might not have it all, but together we have it all. That's correct. That's accurate. There was no miner's glove match. Who the fuck booked this shit? See, 92, that would have been Bill Watts. Would have booked that shit. Bill Watts, who again, part of the reason why Jake did the coal miner's glove match and then left abruptly was he had a deal through, I think it was Kip Fry, or was it Jim Herd? I don't remember which one. I know Herd was first, but I always get Kip Fry and Watts mixed up. Because I know I think it was Kip Fry and then Bill Watts. I believe Bischoff was next. So Kip Fry makes a contract with Jake. Well, in the meantime, while they're waiting for Jake to show up, because again, he didn't show up to Halloween Havoc. Bill Watts comes in and says, "Hey, that contract that you just signed with Kip Allen Fry, we're not going to pay that much. So, because I'm Bill Watts and I got my big boy pants on." And so he did, again, he did one match and essentially was gone. His one time in WCW. Oh, that's interesting. I haven't seen that yet. And then, you know, he had a very famous group of matches, and I cannot remember with who, but they were in AAA, and he ended up getting his head shaved, which is hard to imagine. I mean, now it's not because he's balding, but at this time, that's hard to imagine. But I heard he got paid a ridiculous amount of money for those matches. But I don't know really anywhere in the States Jake was wrestling between 92 and 96. And then he just shows back up at Survivor Series 96, you know. So the coal miner, I don't know why I'm explaining this to you, Matthew, but it was, yeah. So it was like a work glove, but it had like metal hardened covers over the back of the palm and the fingers. If that is the actual coal miner's hand protection apparatus, I have no idea. I don't know. I've never met a coal miner. Not a lot of coal mines up here in northern Indiana. Again, we got more 1 week of this game, and again, for the time, 1992, great. I almost said great game. That's not fair. It's a very good game. It's repetitive, and there's literally nothing to play for. Just to win. And then we got NES Pro Wrestling, which I don't know if that's going to be any better or not. I think after 1 week, I'm going to be tired of that one too. I'm going to be the natural disasters. You know, Macho Man and the Mega Powers. What the fuck? Almost always you wrestle Legion of Doom. And for some reason tonight, this game was like, hey, what if we kick your ass? How does that sound? Natural disasters. Man, if they had been a tag team like 4 years before they actually were, so like 88. Oh. Demolition, babyface Demolition, and the heel Natural Disasters. Whew. I can't be tired of it yet after we haven't played it. I'm just saying after 1 week of playing that for an hour and a half, I'm not going to want to play it too much more. I could be wrong. Might be one of the greatest wrestling games of all time. I know it has a lot of nostalgia behind it. Starman. But I don't think it's remembered for its gameplay. I think that's a safe assumption. By the way, I'm a little disappointed in my viewers tonight because we've been here for 49 minutes and no one has said anything about my mustache. Just rocking a mustache tonight, and no one says a word. You know, you try to look nice for the viewers that you entertain, and they just nothing in return. I tried to donkey punch Randy Savage. He'd kick me in the face for my troubles. So I wonder why. See, now I'm curious. Oh, win the title, defend it 10 times, and then face the Great Puma for the unification title. See, now we have something to play for. Okay, I'm back. You know what effort I'm in? You got me back in for pro wrestling. I wonder what was the reasoning why THQ went away from Raw versus SmackDown and went to WWE, just WWE 14 and 13, or no, 12 and 13 until 2K took over in 14. What was with the switch? Now I'm curious. Hogan, I'm gonna whip that bald ass, brother. Punch. Oh, he just ran me over. Mistimed it. Oh, get out. Count, ref. Old Tony Schiavone, your referee. I wish the Hogan Earthquake feud would have lasted longer. And again, Earthquake should have won the title in 90. Just saying. All caps, no notes, as the kids say. I'm not willing to hear things of the contrary. Ooh. I will say there was a it was a really interesting feud because the Hogan Earthquake feud tied in with Warrior and Perfect. And that's how we got Hogan Warrior, was the mistrust between the two at WrestleMania 6. WrestleMania 6. And I don't know what I was doing there. But I don't in that time frame where you got Earthquake and Perfect against Hogan and Warrior, Earthquake has some questionable singlet choices. Like one is just straight poo brown. Doesn't even say anything. Just poo. And then like they didn't say anything. They were just solid colors. It was weird. Like even the one he debuted in with the like had the blue with the tremor line and said Canadian tuxedo or Canadian tuxedo. That's a Canadian Earthquake. That was better than just brown, doo-doo brown singlet. Typhoon not good at drop kicks. That's weird. Oh, yes, that's right. Kids, send in your get well soon letters to old Typhoon. Oh, it's to Hogan with Typhoon. That's what it was. Was that the time? Was that those storylines? Was the gift card? I guess it would have been, yeah, because it was supposed to be Chic Tugboat, which would have been that would have been bad. That would have been so bad. If you would have had Hogan and in Chic Tugboat main eventing WrestleMania 8 or 7, that goes down as arguably one of the worst WrestleManias ever. Like moving from the LA Coliseum to the LA Sport. I did it again. I'm off the side of the vertical. The LA Sports Coliseum to the LA Coliseum to the LA Sports Complex, whatever it's called. You would have had to go play at like Fred's Bowling Alley to have WrestleMania 7. Yeah, that'd have been rough if that's what they would have gone with. Like they could have, maybe if the American Legion for that used to be open for wrestling from Hollywood in the 50s, was that if that was still open, they could have wrestled there. 400 people. It's respectable for an American Legion. My American Legion couldn't hold 400 people. Did we just get beat? What? There was like half health bar. Why aren't we kicking out? I quit. Thank you, LA Sports Arena. What did I say? Complex. Sorry, Efren. Efren is from the area. He's very disappointed in me right now. Again, they even didn't do a terrible job of getting in Bobby Heenan in the background. Now, again, it looks like the other announcer is John Laurinaitis, but it's supposed to be Vince McMahon. But Bobby Heenan looks like Bobby Heenan. And again, for 1992, this ring, actually, you know what? It looks exactly like the toy ring you could buy at the time. That I and most children my age had. There was a little holder. There was a little end cap on the ring post. That's where you could put your title belts. Back when they only had 3. The World Heavyweight, the Intercontinental, and the Tag Team. So, Efren, you're here. You're kind of the WWE Southwest business history buff. But this is an opinion. I want to ask you your opinion on something. Do you think WrestleMania 7 moved to the sports arena because of security risk because of slaughter, which is what the reason they gave, the weather, because it did rain that night, or do you think it was because Hogan and Slaughter did not sell tickets? I think I know what the answer is. I should just have Efren on one of these weeks. I think I know what the answer is. Just, yeah, ticket sales. Yeah, for sure. It's, and I would love to know. I was 6 for WrestleMania 7. I was born one day after WrestleMania 1. Boom. But no, it was one day before. I would love to know, like, the wrestling fans are like our parents' age at the time. So my parents were mid 30s they were 32, early 30s. I would love to know what their opinion on would have been on Hogan and Slaughter. Now, here's the thing. I guarantee you neither one of my parents had any clue that was happening in the WWF because they didn't watch it. But I am curious to know, like, what was the parents' opinion of that storyline? Because again, I've said, and I will say it forever, as a veteran and everything else, I don't have an issue with that storyline if done right. But it was a different time also. So let's see. It's funny, the ones I hated as a kid, I've learned to have so much respect for as an adult. That's a fact. That is a fact. Sean Mooney was on our TV every single quarter hour reminding people to turn their Coliseum tickets for sports arena tickets. That's true also. That was early too. That was like February they started doing that. No. Yeah. When did they stop doing local wrestler promos? It's probably around this time, wasn't it? I feel like it was. Matthew agrees it was ticket sales. So all Mooney every quarter hour for about 6 weeks. Yes, Darren Staley's here. Oh, you handsome devil. I missed the question. My dad was a wrestler in the 60s for the original Sheik. Bragger. So, Darren, this is the current topic of discussion. Right now, wrestled as a German. I might want to stop there. Not saying he was, but certainly his character was. And we all know the magic 4-letter word I'm referring to. So, Darren, the question is, right now, what we're discussing is WrestleMania 7, Slaughter Hogan, of course, was set to break attendance records when it aired from the LA Coliseum in 1991. However, as we all know, it got moved to the LA Sports Arena. Sorry, Efren. By the time it was, and they ended up doing over 14,000 people, which is respectable considering. But the question that was raised by me, because Efren is here and he's our Southwest Wrestling business historian, I just anointed him with that title. Do you think the venue change was made because of legitimate security concerns for Sergeant Slaughter, the weather, because it did rain that night, or was it just slow ticket sales for Hogan Slaughter? Because this was the first WrestleMania that was not at what I would call a major venue, right? You had Madison Square Garden. Two was it wasn't Madison Square Garden. Was it Madison Square Garden, or was it where the Islanders played? I think it was maybe it was Madison Square Garden. Then Chicago, it was the Chicago Arena. And then where was LA? Was that also the LA Sports Arena? Or was that the Forum? I think the Western Forum. That sounds right. 3 was the Silverdome. 4 and 5 was Trump Plaza. Efren, you could just say the answer and not get derogatory. Nassau Coliseum. Thank you. See how easy that was? Adolf von Schmidt. Whoo, boy. How about being on the nose against Dr. Sam Shepard in Waverly, Ohio, 1971. I mean, his name's a little on the nose, but the rest of that is cool. Rosemont Horizon, duh. LA Sports Arena. Suppository. I don't know what that means. Why use words? That's what we're doing. That's what Darren's doing. Just words. Onion crinkle. Like, what are we doing? But 6 was at the Skydome, and then 7 was LA Sports Arena. 8, again, it's in Indiana, but the RCA Dome held a lot of people back then. Well, it doesn't exist anymore, but at the time it did. Lucas Oil has number of people that complain 0. I'm complaining right now. I'm literally complaining about it. You know, I am. I thought we were friends. I'm wearing your shit on my show, and you're just being passive aggressive in the comments. Back to the natural disasters, whooping that ass. Kick. I that's what's upsetting is I do believe that right in the face. I do think that Hogan's Slaughter story was better than people get it credit for. And I think it's kind of been tarnished with the public reaction to it. And again, I understand it. I do. I'm not gonna sit and pretend I don't. But I do think that story was better than, again, because Slaughter went all the way in with it. Like, there was no doubt what he was doing. But it gets tarnished because of just a horrible turnout for WrestleMania 7. But again, it's the same token. I would love to go back and see what was on the undercard for 7. The only card match I remember is Barbarian and Big Boss Man. No, that was Rumble. What was WrestleMania 7? No, that was was that? No, it was Boss Man and Perfect for the Intercontinental title. That's what it was. And Boss Man won by countout because Bobby Heenan wouldn't stop making your mama jokes. What are the odds that Boss Man's storyline with Bobby Heenan was Bobby Heenan making fun of his mother, and then almost a decade later, his feud with the Boss or the Big Show is because of Big Show's dead dad? Like, what are the odds of that? Yeah. Calm your ass down, Hogan. How's that? That's all she wrote, folks. Yep, they don't come in. Oh, see, this is, to me, if you're going to make an underrated WrestleMania match list, I put Rick Martel and Jake in the blindfold match at number 1. This is the most underrated WrestleMania match to me ever. Again, it really showcases just how good Jake's psychology was in improvising. But I think Martel showed off quite a bit in that too. WrestleMania 1 did like an MSG house. They didn't have lighting yet. It's pretty dark. Nasties beat the Hearts for the title at 7. Mr. Perfect, for my money, is the best salesman ever. So let's look at WrestleMania 7. I know Efren's posting the matches one by one. So they drew 16,158 people. March 24th of 91. Let's read the card. The Rockers beat Barbarian and Haku. They beat the Faces of Fear. I know that those are WCW name. I know that, but that's still crazy. Well, for one, I didn't know Barbarian and Haku teamed together in the WWE. That is also crazy to me. Texas Tornado beat Dino Bravo in 3 minutes. Bulldog beat the Warlord. I remember that. Nasty Boys beat the Hart Foundation for the tag team title. Jake Roberts beat Rick Martel in a blindfold match. Fantastic. Undertaker beat Jimmy Snuka in 4 minutes and 20 seconds. Ultimate Warrior retired Randy Savage. Tenryu Katao beat Demolition. Wow, really? They won by pinfall. Holy shit. Bossman defeated Mr. Perfect by DQ for the Intercontinental title. I think this was Andre's last appearance. Earthquake beat Greg Valentine by pinfall. The Legion of Doom beat Power and Glory in 59 seconds. Virgil with Roddy Piper beat Ted DiBiase. That is redonkulous. The Mountie beat Tito Santana in 1:21. And then Hulk Hogan beat Sergeant Slaughter to win the title in 20 and a half minutes. Was that match not a boot camp match? I thought it was. Right? It was Hogan Slaughter in a boot camp match. Or was that after? That might have been after. I'm thinking about it. That might have been their tour afterward. They were doing boot camp matches. Jake was so smart in that match. The way he used the crowd, it was perfect. I agree. I kind of want to watch WrestleMania 7 now just for that match. Jake and Rick did not get their credit. They still don't. Why is Efren not on the mic here? Why is he relegated to chat? Boo. Here's the real reason, Darren. Efren doesn't like me anymore. And he will not come on my show. So then he just goes in the chat and mocks me the entire time, which is rude, but it's Efren. And I still love him, even though he's angry with me. I still love him. Gene Okerlund holding cue cards to the Star Spangled Banner. Crowd was bonkers that night for the blindfold match. No way was that crowd noise piped in. I was there. Hashtag I was there. That was a show we did for a cup of coffee here on Archive Moments. I have to bring that back. So let's get another match in here. I want to be Ted DiBiase, $1 Million Man. Again, I think a giant, and I know that because this is in my head fresh because I just saw it on Twitter because it's the anniversary of Andre the Giant beating Hulk Hogan with the worst double underhook suplex of all time. And I get it. I'm not making fun of him. It's terrible. Wins the WWF Championship. Arguably greatest angle of all time with the twin referees, the twin Ebners. And then he sells the title to Ted DiBiase. WWF dropped the ball here, just not letting Ted defend the title. I have never understood that. Like, you could have built a very solid WrestleMania 4 card, sans tournament, and just promoted Savage and DiBiase for the world title in the main event. I thought it was a mistake. I thought they should have let Ted run with it. What better way for that main event? Oh, Saturday night's main event. Oh, wait. You're right, because it was not a Saturday night's main event. It was just the main event. Andre Hogan not sold out in Indianapolis. That's crazy. WWF was at its peak here in January of 88. It was January of 88, right? I got that right? But that's wild. That was not sold out. Wow, I'm stunned by that. Is Ted DiBiase the greatest wrestler to never hold the heavyweight title in the WWF? He is one of them for sure. Again, a couple weeks ago, I think it was when we were playing Warzone, I made it top 5 to never hold the world title. And again, I put DiBiase, even though I technically consider him a world champion because he should have been. Yes, the main event, 15.2 share, 33 million viewers. That's the Hogan Andre main event, January of 88. In Indianapolis, Indiana. It's just crazy. Yeah, you can't get 33 million people to do nothing anymore. But DiBiase for sure. I'm trying to remember what mine was. It was DiBiase. I know the for sure's are DiBiase, Scott Hall, Kurt Hennig, Roddy Piper, and my number 5 was, I think it was Dustin Rhodes. Was my number 5. But again, in my mind, I consider Ted DiBiase a former world champion because he bought it. I mean, even if he held it for a minute, he held it. Just like Andre the Giant is a world champion. So, with that in mind, I would remove Ted. And who was my other 4? Scott Hall, Mr. Perfect, Dustin Rhodes. Who was my other one? Was it Jake? So, who would I put in for Ted if we don't count him? Oh, it's Piper. So then, yeah, it would be Jake. I said Piper. So the other one would be Jake. For sure. It appears some companies are happy with half that, which I don't understand. I would love to actually know what the ratio between television watching habits or viewing habits is the proper term and streaming habits are, so I can actually know, like, is wrestling truly hot right now? Because everyone says it is. And WWE's business is through the roof, to their credit. I mean, it's cooled off substantially in the last year or so, but it's still, everyone would love to be there. Or have we created our own wrestling 2008 housing market bubble, and sooner or later it's going to crash because we've just overinflated not only every company's value, but every wrestler's value, to be fair. Like, and we don't have concrete numbers of how many people are actually watching the product. Now, again, the telltale altimeter to tell how well a company is doing is ticket sales, and WWE's still crushing it. Again, they're pedal to the metal. Again, they're slowing down a bit, but not enough for anyone really to notice. So, Efren and I will not sit here and stand for your nonsense. What nonsense? I'm speaking facts out here, okay? I'm the one with my ass on the line, talking, spitting facts, Darren. You watch your mouth. Love you. At his height as a babyface, could Snuka have had a run? No. No, couldn't have. For one simple reason. He couldn't cut a promo. Now, in that time, so the height of his babyface run would have been 80 to 83. And from everything I've read, it was talked about a lot, and it almost happened. They were considering getting the title off Backlund and putting Snuka in. But the issue was, because of the times, it's early 80s. And, of course, Snuka's little ordeal murder that happened in 83. You couldn't depend on Snuka. But the most important part of Snuka's never winning a title was he couldn't cut a promo. And it's not that he couldn't, like, he wasn't supposed to. And in those days, you didn't give a babyface a manager. So no, he couldn't have. Because okay, let's say for this example, could we use the belt or use Snuka to win the belt as a transition champion to a heel? Who's the heel? Graham's already gone by the 82. So I don't know who that is. Like I honestly don't. Like I don't know. I honestly do not know who their biggest heel was in 82. I have no idea. I know most of their baby faces. I don't know who their heels were. Slaughter, I think in 82 by 82 was he there or was he gone? I think he was gone. Patterson's pretty much out of the ring. Gorilla's out of the ring for the most part. I think he wrestled once in like 84. Jesse Ventura's wrapping up. There's just no one there. It had to be Backlund, Sheik for a month or whatever it was, and then Hogan. There's no other way to do it. Right. So Darren Staley says, I keep spinning out of the vertical view. Snuka was also very specifically branded in a way that wasn't so broadly translated. Agreed. A lot of that was creative pigeonholing. Because he had one of those gimmicks. Like once you do Superfly, there's no going back. Like you can't go do something else after that. You're just the Superfly now. That's what you do. And listen, he had a great career. He shouldn't have. He should have had a short career, but he had a great one for reasons we'll never understand. And like, there's no way in his shoes you shouldn't have been happy with it. But as far as world champ, no. And the sad part, actually, it's not sad. I had nothing about Jimmy Snuka's sad except that he murdered someone. The crazy part about Jimmy Snuka's career, you couldn't have taken that character and put him in a different era and made him a world champion. He never fit as a world champion in any era. He never would have fit. Like even the Gorgeous George days, he wouldn't fit. It's kind of wild if you think about it. This has been another. See, you guys, when you all show up in force. Oh, I got to take Darren's comment now. When you guys show up in force, this is when the show gets good. We talk about topics I never thought we were going to talk about. I did not see me talking for 15 minutes about Jimmy Snuka tonight when we started the show. I bet Jimmy Snuka had a huge dick though. And then that is the unfortunate side of our audience as well, is somehow, again, 15 minutes, top of the line, wrestling history, business analytics, television breakdown, dick jokes. Like it's what we do here, you know. We are professionalism with just a seesaw of dick. That's what we do. Got another question. Do you think it would have worked to have used Snuka to get the belt off Sheik to turn Snuka heel? And I think he would have had a better match with Hogan than the Hogan Sheik match. So you're saying have Snuka beat Backlund, setting up Snuka Hogan with Snuka's heel as opposed to Sheik. Who is Susas? That is interesting, but no. I think, and there is something he also put bigger the face, bigger the heel. There's something to that for sure. But I think, again, in that landscape at the time, it had to be Sheik. There was no one else. Now, here's the interesting thing. If they go into this championship transition, we're going to make Hogan the guy. He's going to beat Sheik. But, right away, there's no, like, clear, defined feud for Hogan. They kind of built up to Piper, but it took a while. What's interesting to me, because for the longest time, I think up until WrestleMania 5, the biggest selling event, and it wasn't televised, and I'm aware of, not in the United States anyway, was Hogan Orndorff at Skydome, or whatever it was called in, I think it was 86. If Orndorff is there in 84, Does Backlund drop the title to Orndorff, and then you run with Hogan Orndorff? Because I think if you run with Hogan Orndorff, I don't think Hogan wins the title at the beginning of 84. I don't. And actually, I bet you the first WrestleMania main event is Hogan Orndorff instead of Hogan Piper. Also, Paul Orndorff never won a world title. Phenomenal heel. He's just for his 80s work with Hogan, he's top 4 heels ever, in my opinion. Especially the last 3 generations. Snuka beat Sheik as a face. No, I know, I get that. But so here's what's crazy is Sheik beats Backlund because Arnie Skolin throws a towel in. It's a month later, Hogan beats Sheik. Like you're not going to turn Snuka, who had a lot of equity as a babyface with the WWF audience. You're not going to turn him after winning the WWF title just so we can drop in a month. You're not doing that. They had a very clear setup plan because, and this is what's the word I want? The line of, what is the word? Demarcation between the Vinces, Vince Sr. and Vince Jr. Vince Sr. was Bob Backlund. That was Bob Backlund's champion, right? He was a big proponent of Backlund and Bruno and Pedro and the realistic baby faces. I mean, you can't call Bob Backlund. I mean, he's the whitest dude ever. But the ethnic champions and heels and all the faces before that. But Vince was a Hogan guy, and obviously, and Sheik, right? That was his thing. So I don't think so. I almost wonder if they would have had better luck if they just were turned back on heel. Although I don't, again, with how he was, Backlund in 82, 83, well, really his whole run, is really milquetoast. So I don't know if they were even capable of turning Backlund heel, to be honest with you, in 84. Paul Orndorff, the original Luger. I like that. Except Orndorff could work. The line of Sioux Sauce. The line. This is why we like having Darren Staley on the show. He's one of the Bash on the Buttons OGs. And Drunken Popo. Did really mark out moments OGs. Love Darren Staley. Good man. Hogan and Orndorff should have been WrestleMania 2 because Hogan Bundy was the shits. We didn't know that at the time. And I would even argue Hogan Bundy was the patient zero of the Hogan Monster Factory. Because after that, in 86, right, it's WrestleMania 2, you get Andre, you get Boss Man, you get Akeem, you get Earthquake. I mean, I don't consider Perfect a warrior, or a monster, but I would argue Hogan Bundy at 2, is the beginning of the Hogan Monster Factory. Because even though the match isn't great, it also helped it was a cage match. But WrestleMania 2, for being weird, because it was in 3 different venues, and from everything we've heard from everyone involved, it was a production nightmare. But it didn't do terrible bite rate wise. It didn't do great. It didn't exceed 1. Well, I mean, it had to have because 1 wasn't on pay-per-views on closed circuit. But it did okay. It did average, slightly above average. Didn't crush it, wasn't terrible. So, like, yeah, I mean, no one's in their right mind is going to say WrestleMania 2, Hogan Bundy is one of my top 3 WrestleMania main events of all time. No one will say that. Not a single person. But did it do okay business-wise? Yeah. And we didn't know until after that match that Hogan and Bundy just did not mesh that well in the ring. I mean, they were fine. They got through it. It wasn't a bumbling disaster, but they just didn't. Like Hogan and Andre had it. And by the way, I know he's gone, and I hate to say this, but you go back and you watch all those WWE type documentaries, right, from matches back in the day, and Hogan Andre is one of them, of course. And to listen to Hogan tell us that he didn't know whether or not Andre was going to do business until he did it in WrestleMania 3. Are you shitting me? Like, that is so dumb. Andre at no point in his career ever had a reputation for not doing business. Ever. And I think it was Jim Cornette even said, Vince would not have let Andre in the ring had he not known Andre was willing to drop the fall to Hulk. Like, it's stupid. I didn't know if he was going to take the fall, brother. Shut up. Yes, you did. Because here's the thing. Now, granted, I'm a coward, okay? But if I'm in Hogan's shoes and I'm getting ready to go out in front of 93,000 people in the Pontiac Silverdome, I'll give Vince like, hey, is Andre gonna do the honors? And if he just like looked at me and shrugged, I ain't going out because I'm gonna die. Okay. There is something to be said of a giant being in the ring in the human body he's facing. But it's the dumbest shit ever. I didn't know if Andre was going to do business. Are you out of your mind? How dumb do you think we are? What else? What we got in the comments? There's so much happening. Could you imagine if Backlund immediately from 83 Backlund to the 90s heel version back in 83? Talk about a turn. Here's the thing. I don't know Backlund's age right off the top of my head. I do know when he returned in 93, he was 44 because they talked about it nonstop on WWE TV, and they were calling him wrestling's George Foreman, which is also dumb. But I don't know if that version of Backlund as a heel works in 83. As weird as that sounds, I don't know if it does. It worked in the early 90s. And I think a big reason why it worked was he had help from Bret and Owen Hart. Because he kind of interloped into their story. Because once that character kind of went on his own, it kind of flopped again. He had a mini thing with Jarrett, JEFFJARRETT. Haha, that's Jeff Jarrett. But I mean, really, everything he did by himself in the 90s wasn't great. Other than Bret and Owen. That was fantastic. And again, I think he should have held the belt longer than a week before dropping it to Diesel. I absolutely believe Diesel should have beat him for the world title. Won't argue that. But it shouldn't have been in a week. Shouldn't have been in a house show. I understand trying to say, like, hey, you have to go to the house shows. Anything could happen. We change the world title. Duh. In that instance. Because here's the thing. No one in their right mind is going to buy a ticket to watch a Bob Backlund world title match 1 week into his world title run at 45 years old. Nobody. So if you shock the world by having Diesel beat him at Madison Square Garden a week later after he won it, nobody's paying attention. Like, let him have it a few months and then do it. Like, promote, like, hey, just so you know, here, like, keep track of Bob Backlund's tour and house show dates that he's defending the title. So we know what's coming up as fans. And then you come back on Raw and like, hey, do you remember we've been plugging this Bob Backlund Diesel match in February at Madison Square Garden? Diesel won last night. He won the world title. Not just like Backlund beats Brett, and then a week later he drops out of the Diesel. So I guess just shit on Brett. Like what? So I to the question, Matt, I don't know if 83 Backlund or if 93 Backlund works in 83 because the product and the audience was different. I don't know if it works. I would have loved for them to try. Hell, try anything. I would love for them to try. I don't know if it works. 93, 94, it worked because of Brett Nolan. I don't know if you had that same promo on-screen talent in 83 that you had in 93, 94 with Brett Nolan. My opinion. Andre might have said no outside the ring, but once he's in the ring, he's going to work. That is Darren Staley. I don't even think Andre said no outside the ring. I don't. Again, if I'm Vince McMahon, man, I just talked about this a couple weeks ago when we were talking about Shawn and Vader at SummerSlam. By the way, I got to talk to you guys. I sit here every week, and there's no notes for this show. I'm just talking out my ass here. And there's sometimes I'll say dumb shit, and you guys don't correct me. So I went an entire show saying Shawn and Vader was SummerSlam 95. It was not. It was 96. Thank you. And also, I had a whole show where I said the Patriots getting ready to play the Rams in the Super Bowl. They're not. It's the Seahawks. And no one corrected me. Thank you. I thought we were family. Anyway, we talked about a few weeks ago my thoughts on Shawn at SummerSlam 96 with Vader. I would have fired him on the spot if he would have done my world title main event on pay-per-view. Thing with Andre, not even if it was outside the ring saying, I don't want to put Hogan over, I would have told him in February, you are either going to sit here and you're going to tell me, you're going to give me your word. You are going to put Hogan over at WrestleMania 3, or I will find a new heel and you will never work for this company again. Because let's be honest. Let's be brutally honest. Andre the Giant's career after WrestleMania 3 was essentially over. I hate to be that guy, but it's true. He couldn't walk. So especially with Vince being the businessman he was, I have a very hard time believing Vince at any point had any inclination that Andre was not going to go and do the honors for Hogan. I don't believe it. Because he wouldn't have been in there if Vince wouldn't have thought he wouldn't have. We would have had Vince and Bundy 2, or Hogan and Bundy 2. Or Hogan and anyone else. Actually, we might have had Hogan Savage the first time. I don't know. But I honestly believe if Vince had any doubt that Andre was going to put Hogan over at 3, Andre wouldn't have been in the ring. I just don't believe that for a New York man. This should be fun. Give me your Mount Rushmore of wrestlers you think the WWF, WWE dropped the ball with. Boy. Whew. I'll do you one better. I'm going to give you drop the ball with and why. And there's two that come to my head immediately. I'm not going to put an earthquake on here. Not giving Owen the world title in 94 is one. Not giving, who are we just talking about? My mind just went completely blank. So not giving Owen the title. Oh, I'm sorry. I got it now. Not giving Owen the title in 94. Because again, I thought Owen should have won the cage match at SummerSlam for the title, and then Brett should have been in Survivor Series or Rumble. Pick one. Doesn't matter. The next one is the fact that Razor never won the WWF title. And again, he could have. He was in a title match right when he entered the WWF with Brett. But he just never won it. And to me, that's when you do it. That's how there is no better way. Look at Yokozuna. They debuted Yokozuna. 5 months later, he was world champion. There's no better way to debut a guy than that. Vader has to be up there. And you can say Vader was out of shape. Vader was this. Vader was that. All day long, it's Vader. Either get your shit together or get out. Like, I don't. And they didn't have that conversation with him because he was there for another 2.5 years. And they took him to Duke Health Clinic and kept bringing him back. So, no, you never told Vader, get your shit together or we're not going to pay you anymore. So, 0-94, Razor, any point in his career. WWF career, I should say. And here's, well, okay, let's do this. I'll do this for you. 0-94, should have won the title. Razor, his first, really his only run, to be honest. 93, 96. Should have had a world title run in there somewhere. Pick a spot. Again, if I was going to pick a match when he beat Shawn in the ladder match, well, no, they won the world champions. Never mind. I will say, not only will I say Razor in the WWF, Scott Hall in Q1 of 1998 should have won the world title. Well, TJ, what happened then? Well, if you recall, World War III 97, Scott Hall won. He was then going to face the winner of Hogan Sting at Starrcade 97, and I think Super Brawl in February for the world title. He did not face the world champion until I think either Uncensored or Spring Stampede. They just kept pushing him back and back and back. And not only would I have had Scott Hall win the world title in the first quarter of 98, I would have booked Hogan, Hall, and Sting in a triple threat match for the world title. I would have had Hall beat Hogan, and that's how I would have started the NWO Wolfpack. That's right, full circle. So there's 3. Technically it's WCW, but whatever. So we got Owen, Razor, Scott Hall. Let's do. Again, I'm biased. Admittedly, they never, to me, fulfilled the capability of Mr. Perfect, especially early on. Again, there's a possibility with a heel Mr. Perfect, especially when Brett was champion, he could have been world champion, and they would have had a great story. But and again, I'm not a booker, but they never pulled the trigger. I don't know if they should have. I'm just saying they didn't. And that's 4. So what's number 5? Could it be Bam Bam Bigelow 1995? No. Wait. Hold on. What am I doing? Wade Barrett with the Nexus is up there. Holy shit, Wade Barrett. What a travesty of a storyline the Nexus was. And here's the worst part. Cena beats Barrett to end the Nexus for no good. I threw my pop cap. That's how empty I am, or how mad I am. They beat Barrett and end the Nexus for no good reason. No good reason at all. And then what happens? Those guys go to SmackDown and make the core. So, boom. 0-94, Mr. Perfect early 90s. Scott Hall, first quarter of 98. I said someone else and forgot who it was. And then Wade Barrett and the Nexus. Wow. Like that's the biggest what the hell. Again, Wade Barrett, when the Nexus was at its peak before CM Punk, again, should have been world champion. That's how you get a faction over. You make the lead guy the world champion. His underlings gain confidence. They start helping each other more. They start acquiring belts. And then as they get more belts, more power, you start the fracture. It's the tale as old as the hills. What are the saddest moments for seeing Andre on the WWE pay-per-views on crutches, not able to stand. Well, really, any UWF pay-per-view he showed up for. Start there. He showed up on one WCW Clash of the Champions, I think, on crutches. Might have been his last TV appearance. If I'm wrong, everyone will correct me. But I mean, dude, again, especially after the event of Hogan Andre with the twin Hebners, every appearance after that, it's bad. Like, you can just tell Andre's not. And again, as a kid, I didn't start watching until 89. So I saw Andre really on the downhill slide. He was tagging with Haku. But that's how I knew Andre. I didn't see Andre in his prime until like 2015 when his book came out. Which actually, no, I was like 21. That book came out. So I never knew Andre as mobile and throwing drop kicks and giant afro and all that stuff. I never knew that. I knew Andre in the one strap singlet, barely moving. But again, really any Andre appearance after the event in 89 is not, or 88 is not ideal. You can tell it's over. It's not good. Great answers. Instant street cred. What up, dog? Razor should have been beat Brett for the title at the Rumble. See, that's what I'm like. That's when I slide it in. Because if I don't do it with Brett at the Rumble, I think it was 93, I don't know when you do it. Like, there's no other time to do it until 95. You can't even say 96 because he wasn't even on the WrestleMania card. Back to our match. Look at DiBiase taking a poo on Savage's chest there. And again, another tragedy of WWE history was that Savage dropped the belt to Hogan at 5. I will never understand that as long as I live. Like, let's look at WrestleManias in chronological order. Hogan wins in a tag match at 1. Hogan beats Bundy at 2. Hogan beats Andre at 3. Hogan loses, well, technically it was a draw with Andre at 4 in the tournament. He beats Savage at 5. Now, I do not understand what Hogan gained from being the Macho Man at 5. I don't know. But again, for all the people that say that Hogan is solely responsible for the WWF rocket ship in the 80s, the highest selling pay-per-view in WWF history was WrestleMania 5 until like 2004. And who was that with? Because Hogan main evented every WrestleMania from 1 to 8. And only 5 had the record. And who was that with? It's Macho Man. So if Hogan main evented 1 through 8, but only 5 had the record, I would say it wasn't Hogan. I would say it was the Macho Man. Macho Man as a heel, and again, greatest storyline WWF has ever done is the Mega Powers Explode. Bar none, it's not close. That's the best. What about the Bloodline? Shit on a shingle compared to the Mega Powers exploding. All that I consider you. But again, if Hogan main evented every WrestleMania from 1 to 8, but 5 held the record forever, but the other 7 aren't in the top 10. Well, I guess with the exception of 4. Because that was Savage and DiBiase, but no one knew it wasn't billed as Savage DiBiase. It was a tournament. Then maybe Savage had a lot to do with that. And by the way, at this time, Hogan had nothing to gain by winning the world title again at WrestleMania 5. Savage had everything to gain by retaining the world title as a heel, because then you could have and by the way, you still would have gotten Hogan, Savage, Zeus, and Beefcake at SummerSlam 89 for No Holds Barred. All that still would have happened. It wouldn't have changed a thing. It's just the champion would have been Savage. Well, Hogan need to have the belt for the movie. That's the dumbest shit I've ever heard. Like, if anyone honestly believed that No Holds Barred was going to do Die Hard numbers at the theaters, like, I know you got to be delusional to work in the wrestling business, but son, that's bananas. I would. That's my number one. If I can go back and change one main event, WrestleMania main event scenario, it's Savage retains at 5. And here's an even better thing. Even works better for Macho Man's character. Don't pin Hogan. Have him win by disqualification. Have Hogan win by DQ. Savage retains. Because then you can still have, well, Savage can't be Hogan. Who gives a shit? He's still the champion. Like, I don't understand that one. For the life of me, I can't figure it out. Because again, after Savage, and history bears this out, there was no heels for Hogan to work with. They just wanted Hogan Savage. Because where did they go after Hogan Savage? What was 90? Babyface. What was 91? We had to bring a guy back who's been a babyface since 1980 and turn him heel as an Iraqi sympathizer. Which by this time, Savage was still a heel. He was until Mania 7, and then he switched because the crowd switched him. But I don't get that one. Savage should have retained at 5. I'll die on that hill all day long. Like, part of me is joking when I say Earthquake should have won the title in 90 and all these other, I will absolutely die on the hill that Savage should have retained at 5. Absolutely. Dumb business mistake on that one. Got to promote our movie. He's still in the movie. That's not going anywhere. Hogan is still the biggest star, even if Savage beats him. You just give Savage credibility as a heel. That's all you do. Hogan's not losing star power in 1989. That is not happening. Now, 1991? Well, actually, no, because he lost at 90 to Warrior and didn't do anything to his character. By 89, Hogan's established as an all-American brand. Red, white, and blue, and ass-kicking Hulk Hogan with his mustache. What made more sense? Savage dropping the belt. Well, I think you know my opinion on Savage dropping the belt to Hogan. Hogan dropping the belt to Warrior did make sense. It did. Again, as little as no one will admit it, we're done with the game now. Let's just talk. As much as no one will admit it, that worked for the WWF in the time, the Hogan experiment was over. Well, shouldn't say it was over. Hogan's popularity was dwindling. They needed a solid number 2 option, and it was Warrior for a cup of coffee for a year. And then they were like, oh, I don't know if Warrior's saying words when he does promos. And then he became an ultra weird jackass who hates everyone that's not him. And they had to go back to Hogan. Well, kind of. Hogan, Brett, Yoko, all that stuff. But Warrior, they tried to pass the torch. Savage and Hogan, there's no torch to pass. You're just trying to do business. And having Hogan squash another heel for no reason. Like, they had just started their feud, technically, after Saturday night's main event before WrestleMania 5, which is like a month and a half. There was no buildup. Now you can say the storyline was the buildup. There's no buildup to it. We got hints and we got subtleties and things like that building up to it. But there was no defining moment until the Saturday Night's Main Event where Savage attacked Hogan. Then you're like, okay, we're going Hogan Savage. We're definitely doing that. So I just, again, listen, I'm not in the wrestling business. I've never been in the wrestling business. I've never had to make money. I've never had to write a storyline in the wrestling business. As a fan, as a historian, I do not understand why Hogan beat Savage at 5. I don't get it. Greatest storyline ever was the Mega Powers explode. The storytelling was all perfect. I agree. I think I said it. In my opinion, this is the best storyline the WWF has ever done. And that includes the Bloodline. Bloodline's kind of past my era of watching anyway. But, dude, like, people need to understand in the late 80s, really any time before that, on occasion, very rare occasion, world title matches or main event matches, storylines, they generally didn't go a year. They might go 6 to 8 months. Especially because at the time you're touring, right? The NWA Ric Flair touring champion. So really never had the time to build up a 6 to 8 month or a year long storyline. Those things didn't happen in the late 80s. So the WWF to say we're going to build Hogan Savage, the storyline anyway, from WrestleMania 4 to 5. As the story goes, after WrestleMania 4 ended and Savage won the world title, they knew that night, this time next year, we're doing Hogan Savage. They knew that. And I believe it. Because if you going back now, knowing what you know, and watching that main event and how it ended, they were already planting seeds. It's beautiful, really, on the frame of it. But you didn't see that back then. Because again, it's territories. No one's on pay-per-view. WCW is trying to, but Vince is kicking them off every chance he gets. Which is why the Royal Rumble and Survivor Series exists. And like this, you wouldn't get a solid 1 year storyline again until Austin McMahon. I can't think of one. Probably Austin McMahon. I don't know another one. So yes, Mega Powers Explode is the best storyline they've ever done. And here's again, every current fan is going to say the Bloodline. The Mega Powers did with 2 people in 1 year. They did more from a storytelling perspective on television that was much more effective than the Bloodline with 11 people did in 3 years. Like, did the Bloodline have great moments with great people? 100%. No doubt about it. Did it have people crying in the stands like Hogan and Savage did? No. Legit people crying in the audience because Savage turned on Hogan and Elizabeth. I mean, it could be a different era. Well, it's definitely a different era. And maybe I'm jaded, but to me, Hogan Savage is way better than the Bloodline. Fight me, as the kids say. The one thing I love about Hogan and Moyer, I don't know, I think it's supposed to be Warrior, must be doing text to type there. as a kid, as you could predict how the other WrestleManias were going to go, but honestly, as a kid, I couldn't see Hogan losing or Warrior losing. Listen, I'm not going to sit here and try to pretend that at 5 years old, I knew who was going to win. I didn't. And they obviously, the company did, right? Again, there were already signs in 89, late 89, 90. Hogan's time as a babyface with the fans was coming to an end. That was clear. They were starting to turn on him. And then again, which was what made Hogan Sid so much worse. Because Hogan went away, he came back, and he kind of jumped into Hogan's slaughter, and the crowd got behind him because of the American patriotism ordeal. But then when it comes to Hogan, he wins the belt. They're really not thrilled about it, the fans. And then you get to Hogan Sid at Rumble 92. The crowd was cheering for Sid, unquestionably. And they had a great, and I understand the hesitancy, because Hogan, from merchandise on down the line, was a cash cow. And it's just facts. Heels don't sell as much merch as baby faces. That's a fact. But to not turn Hogan heel and a babyface Sid just to see what Sid can do against the biggest face the company's ever seen, not named Bruno Sammartino, who is now the company's number one heel. Let's see how Sid holds up. Because here's the thing. Hogan has enough name equity. If it's a disaster, turn him. Turn him back. It wouldn't be hard. But what'd they do? They turned Sid heel, even though Hogan was being a little bitch after Rumble 92 and eliminated Sid after the fact. Crowd boos him out of the arena, Hogan that is. And they go Flair, Savage, Hogan, and Sid. And I want to say at first, when Jack Tunney announced the championship match, did he originally say it was Randy Savage, or did he say it was Hogan? He said it was Hogan, didn't he? It's going to be Flair Hogan. And also, for the record, while we're talking about that, some more WWF conspiracy theories. Hogan and Flair didn't do decent house show business. That's why they didn't main event WrestleMania. Don't believe it. I do not believe that. That was the one match, smart fans anyway. And in 92, I think there was more smart fans than people realize. But most fans would want to see the King of the South versus the King of the North, Flair and Hogan. And I've actually, when we used to do wrestling reviews on FFP back in the day in Drunken Pop, we watched one of the Hogan Flair Madison Square Garden house shows because they put it on the vault or hidden or whatever, gems or whatever it was called. The crowd's going apeshit in that match. And it's Madison Square Garden. So I do not believe for a minute that they did not do Hogan Flair because of bad house show returns. I think they didn't do Hogan Flair because Hogan didn't want to put Flair over. And at that point, at that WrestleMania at 8, Flair is the new champion. And he's completely different. He's new. You're not going to beat him. I mean, Savage beat him, I guess. But I think Hogan didn't want to do the job, is what I think. Because why couldn't you have done Hogan, Flair, Savage, Sid? Because that Savage is already a babyface. You could have done babyface, Savage, heel, Sid. I don't get it. The one thing I loved about Hogan versus Warrior was for the first time you didn't really know how it was going to end. You couldn't see Warrior or Hogan losing. All the others were predictable. I mean, if you go back and watch 3 and try to forget everything you know and just watch it through the eyes of a fan, a hardcore fan, Hogan and Andre had a lot of questions. Like, I don't think a lot of people were sure Hogan was going to beat Andre. I don't think that. And in that lens, it's so fun to go back and watch that match. And yeah, I don't know if I don't think a lot of people. I think most people thought Andre was going to beat Hogan. To be completely honest, except for the smart fans, right? They probably all figured Hogan was going to win. But I think most fans, just pure fans, thought Andre was going to win. And why wouldn't you? WWE, to their credit, leading up to that match, had told you several times Andre the Giant has not lost a match in 15 years, which is horseshit, by the way. They also told you he'd never been body slammed. Hogan body slammed him in 80 at Shea Stadium. You know what I mean? But it's Harley Race bodies, like Jerry Lawler body slammed, like everyone body slammed Andre the Giant. But they did such a good job of framing the moment, capturing like because again, like not if you live in New York or in this case Michigan, you're not going to get Nashville TV, so you're not going to see Jerry Lawler body slam Andre the Giant. You're not going to get St. Louis's tapes and see Harley Race body slam Andre the Giant. You're not going to get Japan shows and see Antonio Inoki body slam Andre the Giant. You get my point. So they could have done all these things, and unless you were a super smart wrestling fan, you didn't know that all that's bullshit. Like, well, actually, Andre lost a month ago in Portugal or whatever. You know what I mean? So it was, and they did a great job on TV telling you how unstoppable Andre was. And then he ripped the cross off Hogan's necklace. You get that little trickle of blood out of Hogan's titty, and the rest, as they say, is history. Again, that WWE used to be so good at what they did from a storytelling perspective. Hogan comes out on a Piper's Pit. I think it was the 3-year celebration of Hogan being champion. I think it's what it was. 86 to, or no, 84 to 87. And yeah, it was January to January. So yeah, that's what it was. And Piper by this point is babyface. He's heating up for Adrian Adonis. And they do this interview. And Jesse Ventura brings out, I think, was it Jesse? Or did Heenan just walk out? One of the two. They introduce Andre. I think it was Jesse first, introduced Bobby and Andre. Anyway, so Andre comes out. Hogan and Andre are supposed to be best friends, right? Challenges to a world title match. And then rips the cross necklace off his neck and cuts his chest with his fingernail. That was done so well. That one angle is, we just sold WrestleMania 3. That's all we had to do. That one promo. That's it. Sold WrestleMania 3. Hogan Andre. It's the only, in my opinion, it's the only match they could have done that would have sold out the Silverdome, to their credit. And they pulled it off perfectly. I don't know if there's another matchup in the history of wrestling you could have made and sold out the Pontiac Silverdome in a month. I just don't believe that's the case. Even with Hogan Savage, they built it for a year. We just didn't know it until the end, right? But they built that up for over a year. And I mean, if we're going to sit here and say, and I'm not disagreeing, I agree, that Hogan Savage Mega Powers Explode is the best story that WWF's ever done. And I believe that. I mean, Hogan Andre, for the speed they put it together, has got to be close. Again, we got Hogan Andre in 2 months. And they sold out. Now, whether it be 93,193 or whatever the projected actual total of 76 or whatever. And by the way, everyone shits on that. Why'd they lie? It's not 93. It's only 70. Only 76,000 people. They had 76,000 people buy tickets in 2 months for Hogan Andre. That's batshit. Okay? I don't care if the attendance is a lie or not. That is bananas. They sold 76,000 tickets in a month and a half. That's crazy. Great questions today. Great comments in the chat. Love it when you guys are here. I'm gonna roll. So let's get one more match in tonight. Let's get one more in. I am so excited. You know, I obviously every podcast I'm a part of will be this or Drunken Pop or the occasions I show up on Pound Water, talking wrestling with Pound Water and Amy, or whatever the case is. I love doing those. I love coming on mic and on camera and like talking to you guys and whether it be a Drunken Pop and educating you about the past or reminding you of the past or this, just reliving wrestling moments from back in the day and video games. I love doing all of them. I love doing this show. I did not think I was going to have this much fun doing this show as I have. I've had an absolute blast doing Bash on the Buttons. And listen, I didn't put the show together and then do it. And I was like, well, this will be an hour of content and not really like I knew I was going to have fun with it. I didn't know I was going to have this much fun. I'm having so much fun. And believe me, I got like notes of like, do I want to do video games and try to get like producers of the video game on the show or creators or designers or whatever? And my immediate answer was no. And here's why. I know the majority of people that watch this show are people like me. And if I wanted to know and read interviews from the creators of the game and production notes and design implementing and how they were doing motion capture, all those other things here in this era, right? I would read a book on it or whatever the case is. Find an interview they did. I'm not interested in sitting through. Again, we're at 2 hours and 8 minutes. We've been doing this show. We're just hanging out and talking. That's what I wanted to do. I know people, for the most part, are not interested in what the associate producer of the game has to say. And that's not me shitting on them. It's just a fact. It's a very what I've learned about wrestling fans and really sports fans, even it's the same dichotomy. They're not interested so much in the nuts and bolts of how things get done, as opposed to the time frame and the events that led to this game being made. Does that make sense? So, like, what was going on in the actual wrestling business leading up to this game? What's the game history leading up to this game and after? That's what I find interesting. Now, if you guys are going to go in the comments and be like, hey, I actually would like to hear from the producers and whatnot of the games, I'll try for sure. I would love to. That's what you guys want to do, because I did go to college to be an interviewer. So that's kind of my thing. But to me, I just didn't find it interesting. I would much rather just come on here, play the game, hang out with you guys, and let's just shoot the breeze. Let's just talk about stuff. And I will inform you as much as I can about the games and the wrestling of the time, like we've done today. Just fine. I have no. That's what I want this show to be. Ask your questions in real time, and I'll answer them. All that stuff. I find all that very enjoyable. Undertaker just whipped that ass. Pound Water and Amy are awesome. Spent a lot of time with old Dave at Top Guy Weekend. Yeah, unfortunately I was not there. Oh, I should tell you guys this. So the reason why I wasn't there is because that Saturday I'm on a charity board here in my hometown, and we have our annual big time event. It was the same weekend, which, by the way, it's been the same weekend 3 years in a row as Tap Guy Rumble. So I stayed here and did that, and it's inappropriate trivia. We had over 600 people in attendance. No, I'm sorry, we had 500, over 500. I don't remember. I can't remember the amount of tables we had, but it's 10 people a table. We had over 54. That I do know. And we raised over $23,000 in charity from inappropriate trivia. So that's where I was. That's why I wasn't at Top Guy Rumble. But stay tuned to ad-free shows, because there's more coming. And you just may see TJ, old TJ, which, by the way, the OG Top Guy right here, you may see him before the year's over. Stay tuned. No other hints. You know, and all my nerddom that I talk about wrestling, and I've studied a lot of wrestling. Not enough. Okay, DiBiase Hogan, look at this. Not enough. Which, by the way, I always got a massive kick out of the fact they always build Ted DiBiase 270 pounds. There is no snowball's chance in hell at any point in DiBiase's career in the ring he weighed 270. There is no way. He was like 230 at best. Anyway, as much as I love like nerding out about wrestling history on these shows, and I'm going to get some shit wrong here and there, that's fine. Not because I'm trying to lie to you, it's just shit escapes my head. But I've studied television too, because if to research like the territories, you really have to research local television. So there's been a lot of things about local television I've learned that I did not really ever seek or plan to. But now that like those paths have crossed, I'm fascinated by it. The history of local television and the history of pro wrestling in the United States is wild, especially from, the 40s through the really, I mean, let's call it 2020, when streaming kind of changed the game. And I love AEW and WWE fans getting in arguments about television ratings. Like what? It's streaming. Like, why do you care? Well, AEW only did this many viewers. Who gives a shit? Listen, I'm not going to sit here and act like I watch AEW on a regular basis. I don't. But it's not because I don't want AEW to do well, or I don't want the wrestlers for AEW to not have a career and make good money. That would be bonkers to think that. I don't watch it because I think wrestling as a whole at 41 years old has just passed me by. And that's okay. I wish more people my age that just sat around and bitched all day about wrestling just had the realization that I did about a year and a half ago that maybe this shit just isn't for me anymore. Because guess what? It isn't. When we go back to I'm getting the shit beat out of me, by the way. But maybe one day we go to a more realistic presentation, I'll come back. Like, here's an example. I have not missed a Royal Rumble live in every bit of 15 years. I did not watch the last one live. I still haven't watched it. For no other reason than I don't have a reason to care right now. And I say all those things about WWE, And just to be fair on the other side, I have no reason to care about AEW right now. Who am I caring about? On that company, I have seen the same 6 to 8 people main event every show in the history of that company the entire time. If I don't want to watch, or if I miss this person main eventing in this pay-per-view, I can just tune in next month and I'll see it again. Their storylines don't draw me in. WWE's either, for that matter. Storylines don't draw me in. Punk and Roman may have something. We'll see. I've only seen the clips of it on social media. AEW has talent I'm interested in. They don't present them in ways that make them interesting. And again, maybe the product's just not for me, and that's okay. I'm just not going to watch it until they give me a reason to watch it. And again, I wish more people would just do that than watch it out of spite and then have to give us a 490-page review on Twitter every week. Which, by the way, if you post a tweet that I have to press show more to read it, I'm not reading it. I am moving on with my day. And also, apparently, from what I've been reading and hearing, if you're a wrestling journalist, you might just want to take the next couple of weeks off. Because y'all acting a fool. Like, I've always wanted, this is no joke. This is no joke. When I went to college in 2010 is when I started. I was 25. I wanted to be a mechanical engineer. And then I remembered I hate chemistry, like a lot. So that ended that right away. Luckily, it was first semester, right? No GI, not a lot of GI Bill money wasted. And I jumped right into communications, was my next major. And I fell in love with that. Which, the weird thing about communication as a major is it can relay into so many different outputs on the other side. So communications, everything from broadcast announcer to like PR. It's weird. Like, I don't know why it's so wide, but I had a radio show in my hometown here for 2.5 years. I've never minded speaking in front of people. I've done stand-up a handful of times. I don't consider myself a stand-up comic, but I've done it a couple times. All these things, right? I don't mind talking in front of people. I don't. But I also, like, the whole reason why I went to communication for my major was I wanted to be a journalist. And then, unfortunately, in the, 2016 to 2020, the journalism profession, right when I was going to school, got shit on a bunch. And not only did the journalism function get shit on, there were people parading around as journalists that were shitting on it as well. Inadvertently, but still shitting on it. So I kind of lost interest. I lost interest in wanting to be a journalist. Wrestling journalists never entered my brain. I didn't know it was a thing. And, since then, I'm watching the wrestling landscape and fans and these so-called wrestling journalists. And I'm going to say so-called wrestling journalists because outside of a rare few, they ain't worth a shit. These are people that will post a story that will, within minutes, is debunked. So they clearly have no sources. They have no methods of fact checking. They're just posting shit for clicks. Which, by the way, if you claim to be a journalist and you post an article online that there's a solid chance it's false, but you post it just for clicks, I'm going to say this I'm going to look at the camera. I'll say this very clearly. You're a whore. There's no other way around it. You're a whore. The fact that we have and this isn't a wrestling thing, by the way, it's everywhere. The fact that we have so many so-called journalists reporting on things they know are not true for favorable coverage on the other side is appalling to me. So, like, when we first started doing Markout Moments as a YouTube conglomeration, I legit proposed the idea of us doing a wrestling newsletter like the old days, except it would just all be true shit. But we ended up not doing it because how do you tell whether it's true or not? Because some wrestlers, to their credit, still kayfabe. So let's say we did a story on somebody that was true, but because of their kayfabing, they have to lie about it. Which, by the way, I'd be proud of that. But it would take away integrity. Now, there's a difference between that and just reporting on shit you know is wrong. Those are two different things. Right? And listen, I've met one of the more well-known wrestling journalists in Nashville a few years ago that may or may not be in the Cincinnati, Ohio area. Nice enough guy, but some of his takes and articles and just kind of general stance on journalism just befuddles me. Just the lack of care. I did interviews for PW Mania for, I don't know, I probably did 15 or 16 or so. And they asked me a couple months ago if I wanted to come back and do more. And I said I was interested. And I never got bumped to do one. And I don't know how interested I am. Now, let's say some of those wrestling journalists are watching this and they say, well, how could, maybe you're not getting an interview because you're not good at it. Try me. I'll post those interviews. I still have them. I'll post those interviews on our YouTube page and you can see for yourself whether I was good or not. I think I'm going to do one more match, then we'll be done. What do you think? I would have went to college, but I quit school because of recess. I like how he says, not because of lack of recess, because of recess. Oh my goodness. Love this crowd. And that's the thing with journalism, whether or not you're covering something that is kayfabe or not. The minute you report on something and you know it's a lie when you report it, that institution's dead. Your credibility's shot. Because you knowingly lied and wrote about it and expounded upon it and essentially made up your own conspiracy theories. That's what journalists do. Again, like our newsletter, when we first pitched it, I made it very clear. We're going to source check. We're going to fact check. This, and this. Verify business numbers. We will be upfront, clear, and correct, front to back. And we will not accept money or other favors from other companies to sway our opinions or our writings. Because, again, that just makes you a whore. And I'm not entirely sure why we never did it. I think there's a niche for it. Maybe not a newsletter so much because it's 2026, but a website or an account, social media account of some sort that has honest reporting and things and non-biased writing, I think is needed right now. So I don't know. I wouldn't put the fire on that just yet. It may happen, but like here, the other unfortunate part is say we do that. Well, now we have to be associated with those other goofs that I'm not really interested in being associated with. There's a handful, And actually, one of them, who I thought a lot of, just lost me this past week. Like, when you're a journalist, you have an obligation to report what's happening in a factual and fair way. Period. End of discussion. At no point do you owe anyone your opinion on some shit that people are pissed about. Matter of fact, let's say, for example, I don't know, a picture surfaces of some people and they're pissed about it, but you want to go up there and defend it. Not your job as a journalist. It's not your job. Stay out of it. You report on what the situation is, what the reaction around said picture is. Do not report your feelings on it. For two reasons. For one, nobody cares. And two, there's no easier way to bruise your reputation as a independent journalist than to prove that you're not independent. Your writings can be swayed by personal feeling. Hello. Like, this is 101 shit. Like, they literally taught us this in college. And again, I didn't even go to like an actual college. I went to Purdue North Central in Westville, Indiana. That's where I went to college. And I didn't finish college. I'll throw that up there too, because my wife was pregnant and I had to get a real job. So I dropped out of college. I think I had 3 semesters to go until I would have had my bachelor's degree in communication, and I dropped out. Then got a job at a factory. Now I work at a steel mill all these years later. I just said Siphon. Siphon Justice. Well, we have beaten Typhoon with Sid Justice. That's what I wanted to say. And with that, you guys, 2.5 hours. Longest episode yet for sure. Great conversation. I want to thank Efren and Matthew Elvis Presley and Darren Staley. And who was the new guy we had? We had a new guy. Where was he? Trying to find him in the comments here. Javier, was that his name? I'm going to leave him out. Where is he? Javier. What's Javier? Look at me go. Remembering people's names. I've been drinking. I want to thank all you guys for showing up. Such great conversation this week. Again, 2 weeks down, 1 week to go. Super WrestleMania for Super Nintendo. And until next time, I'm TJ Stevens. We'll see how many more bridges I can burn before I even cross them. Right here on Bash on the Buttons on your YouTube channel for Mark Out Moments. Right here on YouTube.com.